It is fairly heavy if you look at the card. We'll run for the card in a minute on the rematch side. Before we get there, though, gents, obviously, first of all, Karl, are we still recording?
Yeah, we're on it. We're on it.
I'm not. Like, listen, the Mad Dog is off the button. I'm like, look, hands up here. Look, I'm just in charge of the workouts now, boys.
He had one chance and one chance only, and from that point forward, we were like, no, it's over to me. So yes, we are recording.
Breaking that fourth wall down a little bit, before you joined us, Karl, Mad Dog was boasting to me that he works in IT.
I know. That makes it worse. That makes it worse.
Three, 2, 1. Oh, we're back in the barber's shop. It's season 3, episode 12. It's the big finale of season 3. As promised, it's me, the keyboard warrior Karl Atlas, as joined as always by the bearded brethren, Mad Dog. And as promised, a special guest. And we are doing take 2. We are refilming that spot because Mad Dog botched it. We've got Dan Barnsdall back in the barber's shop.
Gentlemen, it is great to be back here in the virtual barber's shop. How are you both? It's been a minute, hasn't it?
It's been a minute. It has been a minute, literally. So for those of you that haven't caught up, the joke is we have had Dan on before. We did a pre-Mania predictions pod, which was fantastic. Dan is the wealth of knowledge, the fountain of knowledge for wrestling. He's up to date on the product, way more in depth than myself and Mad Dog. So he was the perfect guest for that. Then we recorded, or rather we didn't record. We had Dan on for a lovely conversation, catching up after WrestleMania, which was fantastic.
It was our best ever episode.
Well, it would have been had you actually pressed the record button.
See, I think, in all honesty, guys, you might have won awards for that episode and everything. It could have been top of the ice.
That could have catapulted us up the podcast ratings, everything.
If it wasn't for Mad Dog's fucking chunky fat sausage fingers pressing the record button twice, we had like 30 seconds of the intro, and then he smacked his freaking fat digits into the button again.
Come on.
So we lost that episode. But Dan has graciously agreed to come back on and give us his presence for what we are now going to do is the Backlash predictions. So this is kind of quite nice in a way because it comes full circle. We did WrestleMania predictions. Now it's WrestleMania Backlash predictions. But Dan, as you are our guest, we like to start our pod with a kind of a catch up on our fat to fit journey. Because we're trying to get in shape, and certainly now we're ramping that up because the shows. Yeah, okay, good. Getting the guns out. There we go. There's a slight bit of growth there.
So, in all honesty, guys, I was going to say, I've known both of you for quite a while. I haven't seen you for a while. But in fact, last time I saw you, it was mid lockdown when we were did that one show together. And I was going to say, obviously, I've been listening to the podcast, checking you guys out on your YouTube and seeing your videos. I think you both have made some great gains in the right way over this lockdown period. So just from a point of view of a listener point of view and a friend, and so you guys have worked really hard and you should be proud of where you've gone so far. Keep it up.
Oh, thanks, man. We live for the adulation. But no, you're okay. We have worked hard, and it's still early days. I always say that we're probably about midway through what we originally set out as our journey. But with shows round the corner, like we're at the time of recording this is May, middle of May. Very soon, in fact, within the next week, we get the next wave of restrictions lifting. We can go out and give our friends a good cuddle. Certainly, I think I won't know my own strength. I might kind of crack a few ribs on a few hugs on a few family members, I think. But so and then in June, we hit the ground running. We got the Fingers Crossed tour, which we sort of teased last week for Kapow. There's other dates on the horizon for other promotions that, as and when they become more concrete, we'll announce those. But it's exciting. So we've been back at Quality Wrestling Academy. Thank you. We say this all the time. Thank you, Rishi, for having that facility local to us. We've been able to get in there, run the ropes and take some bumps and kind of build up that wrestling callus a little bit ready for the shows. And I've been in the gym roughly 4 to 5 times a week. Now, I originally planned for 3 to 4, and then Mad Dog was like, "I'll come down and do a session with you on a Sunday before we get in the ring." And my brain is going, no, Mad Dog, no. Like, I just want to bump. I want to save all my energy for the ring. And he's like, nah. And he doesn't have a gym. Like, he has his own gym. So he's got no one to show off in front of. So he comes down to my gym when there's little nippers watching him. And he's like, "Right then, boys, let's do a fucking gauntlet." And he's fucking like Bluto in it, like with big fucking muscles and these huge weights, showing everyone off and like sweating like a pig. And I'm like, "Mate, we've got 2 hours of ring time yet. What are you doing?"
Mate, that workout was intense on Sunday. So we did this massive. So this is based on like a guy that I follow on YouTube, and he's been around since like the fucking 80s, right? A guy called C.T. Fletcher. So like in the 80s and 90s, he had like this really posh, polite TV voice. He's a black guy in America, and he was on like he's like the Americans version of Mr. Motivator on the telly, but much more hench, right? Like just super like hench, right? But he does his own YouTube thing, and he fucking swears, and he is brutal, and he just tells people how it is. And he's got he does these things called gauntlets, and basically whatever you start with, you go all the way through a set of weights with almost no break, almost no rest. You get a brief rest at the end, and then you come back through the gauntlet on the way back through. So we did a shoulder workout on Sunday. We didn't have a lot of time. We had about 45, 50 minutes. We did a big compound movement with some circled, what I call circus one-handed overhead lifts, which is good fun. Let me show off a little bit. I managed to do the 50s. I would have gone higher, but they don't have anything higher than 50s.
He had to get that in there. He was like, "Yeah,
I've got to say, you crowbarred that in."
And then we were looking at something just to get the pump on. And Karl, bless him, well, you wanted to get down the gym, down the quality, and I was like, "Come on, Karl, last exercise of the day. We're gonna do 5 of these, 10 of these, 15 of these. You get 30 seconds break. You then got to do 25 or as many as you can of this other exercise, and then back through the queue. You're going to start at 15, then 10, then 5. Now, to be fair to Karl, because I put him through the ringer, I did one extra exercise on top of his. So I then did the gauntlet as well. And where Karl did 20s, 15s, 10s, I did 25s, 20s, 15s, and then 10s, just to make it fair. And just so I could show off a little bit more.
I think you guys need to be recording some of these sessions and showing them on your YouTube. I think some of your fans would probably get a real kick out of seeing what you guys do and kind of seeing the prep you do going into this. I mean, you talk a lot about, your prep and what you do with regards to your training, and it's great to follow. But I think your fans, I'd like to see it. Let's put your money where your mouth is, gents. Let's see it in action.
Yeah, it's been in the works.
Sunday, the gauntlet is down.
He even said as we walked out, he's like, "Oh, we didn't film anything. But it's on the agenda." But I was a bit like, I don't want to film anything yet, because I think even through the camera, it's going to show that I'm quietly screaming on the inside, like, "No more, no more!" Like, I'm not saying it, but my face and my eyes are showing it.
There is also that thing about the 2 fat guys in the corner recording themselves in a public gym. Like, you know, I mean, I don't mind too much, because once I got the pump on, no one's saying shit to me, right? But there is still that little kind of voice in the back of your head just saying, "Don't be that guy." You're already the guy grunting. You're already the guy in a string vest going "Roar!" above your head. Don't be the guy with a tripod as well. You know what I mean?
No, we'll be guerrilla with it. We'll film each other with our phones very sneakily. I think you're right, Dan. I think we definitely need to do that. I think it's hilarious, if nothing else, just watching me like slowly die inside.
Sick. I think you were almost sick after that gauntlet. You were definitely like, "I need water, I need food, and I need to stop for 10 minutes."
So obviously, we as we said before, we all did a show together. I forget when it was. It was back way before Christmas, wasn't it? We did the show.
October 18th.
October 18th. That's exactly right. Now, you guys have obviously been training. Everyone's been following your Fat to Fit journey. Obviously, that's involves stuff you can do at home, weightlifting. We've seen yourself doing training at home, Sam. But how did it feel to get back in the ring for the first time? Because obviously, that is completely different training. It's a completely different environment. Did it feel? I mean, did it feel alien, or was it kind of like riding a bicycle?
It was really interesting, wasn't it? It was a little bit like both, to be honest. Because
Do you know when you find a coat in the cupboard that you used to wear a lot?
Yes.
And you put it on, and you're like, you know it's your coat, but you haven't worn it for a while. But then by the end of the night, you're like, oh, this is my coat. It was like that. It was like finding an old jacket that you put on, and you're like, this is kind of comfortable, but there's something weird about it. And then by the time you've been wearing it a while, you're just wearing it. It's a bit like that, and that's the only way I can describe it. You know?
And that's a perfect analogy, actually. Like, I mean, we spoke a little bit about it, I think, in maybe last week's pod or the pod before. That there was a few things that shock you straight away. You forget. And, you know, taking bumps and break balls. My arms, it rattles through my arms and up through my shoulders. And it's like your bones are shaking. And that sensation was weird at first. And it takes a while to kind of get past that. But, you know,
hitting the ropes,
we said
that first hit.
The first couple
lean,
rope run,
get your pace. And then on that third return, when you actually lean in and hit the rope for the first time, because usually your first one you step and you start, second one you just lean in. It's usually your third return that you've got a bit of pace and you actually spin, pivot, hit it with your back elbow, let your shoulders hit that top one, let your lower back hit the middle one, and you're suddenly like, oh, that fucking sucks. And then Karl's like, yeah, let's run into the buckles as well. And you're like, oh, that's even worse.
But there was some real positive like things that we noticed though, because we both, I think, noticed that we were lighter on our feet. Mad Dog was certainly way more agile than I think even he expected to be, because, you know, we it's a running gag that Mad Dog never leaves his feet, and we take the mickey out of him because he can't do any flips or anything. But, you know, that first hip toss flip bump, you know, he over rotated. Because he was compensating for the fact that I used to not be able to do this very well. And now, because his weight has been more evenly distributed because of his workout routine, he was landing feet first almost, feet then back. And he had to correct that, which was an adjustment, but a positive one in a way, because it was that kind of, oh, okay, I've got more spring in my step all of a sudden. And we've both remarked now coming away, because we went into it going, I'm so worried about that first show. You know, how the inactivity of the last year is going to affect us, you know, with me personally having COVID and everything as well. I was like, there's so many things against me. Am I going to be able to go to the level that I left, or, you know, even close to it, or even better? But we've come away from the last session kind of going, I'm not scared anymore. I think it'll be okay. I think those first couple of matches won't be as arduous as we originally predicted. You know, not saying that it's not going to be difficult, but just that we're not going to stick the joint out.
I've been really impressed with Karl, you know, because as much as, you know, Karl, we're giving each other a bit of a hand job here, but, you know, I've been doing some things in training, like coming off my feet, doing vaults and doing backflips and doing springs in and all sorts of stuff that I haven't done since my very first training sort of sessions. Also, I'm a bit of a gym bunny. You know, I just am. I'm a bro. Like, that's my thing. I do it. Even if I wasn't, even before wrestling, I did strongman and weightlifting. I've always been a bit of a gym bro. Whereas Karl, it's not natural for him. It's not something that he's a wrestler. Like, that's how Karl gets his cardio. He does wrestling. If he wants to get more fit, he does more wrestling. He takes more bookings, or he does more training. But actually, I've been really impressed with the way that Karl has really thrown himself into it. He's set himself targets, and that's the hardest thing. I've said this before on my own podcast, on the Mad Dog podcast, and in this podcast over the last year. The one thing you can't give anyone, you can give them programs, you can give them advice, you can give them nutrition guides, you can set menus, you can set programs of workouts, you can give them all that bollocks, right? What you can't give someone is the heart to fucking go to the gym and do it. That you have to do yourself. And Karl's really impressed me with just like the attitude of, I'm going in and I'm going to do this. And then he comes in on a Sunday, on an extra day, and he matches me lift for lift. You know, he doesn't, and I try to cut him some slack, because I know that I'm jacked up. I know that I'm taking extras. I know that I'm supplemented, and I know that I'm taking pre-workouts, and I literally take everything I can to get through the workout. And Karl's not in that same sort of headspace. And yet, so I try to cut him some slack. I say, go, Karl, don't worry. Take this set out. And Karl's like, no, I'm doing this set. Karl, just do 8. He's like, no, I'm going to do 12. You know, so, you know, fair play to Karl for the effort he's putting in.
So
yeah, man.
we're coming, as we were talking on the pre-show, so to speak, beforehand, that bookings are now coming in. People are now making bookings for July, August, and onwards, basically, which is great news for the wrestling business. And you guys have demonstrated, which I think, and again, from an MC, a referee's point of view, that's how I bring what I look at it is. And I think that you guys are going above and beyond, because a lot of wrestlers, I would assume, haven't had the opportunity or haven't taken the opportunity to go to somewhere like Quality Wrestling Academy or the Red Pro School and actually do some ring work. Now we can get back into these kind of places and do it. Is there a concern from when you guys get out on the shows and you get back out there, you get in the ring with someone who hasn't been in the ring for over a year, that not that there's going to be any problems, but potentially that their ring quality or their in-ring quality may suffer a little bit because this is the first time they've bounced off the ropes in over a year and they're getting their feet, getting that jacket back on again and getting the feel for it?
I think I look at that, and that's a really interesting question that I don't think we've covered in this pod at all. But to jump the gun here, I think I look at that as that's an opportunity there for me and for Sam and for both of us as a team to prove that we can be the strong hands. We can be the trusted members. We can be the ones that are like, don't worry, lads. We know you're a bit rusty. We'll see you through this. And if we're the solid hands in that situation, I think 9 times out of 10, any promoter worth his salt will know. They'll go, do you know what? Sam and Karl led that they made that work. I know those other two are ropey because they haven't had a chance. And I think I look at that as a personal challenge, not as I'm worried about anyone getting in the ring with anyone and they're not being, I will assess it. I will say, what would you lads comfortable with? Like we normally do at any situation. And we will try our best to make the best of it and have the best possible match we can with them. Because
but that being said, we are working with a couple of our friends that we know we're going to have to work over the summer, and we're training with them, or with that. So even though we didn't specifically think about that specific scenario, we did think, you know what? If we can go back in our first couple of matches and have it fucking dialed in.
And I think everyone's going to be looking to impress in their first shows back, aren't they? Because it's been so long. It's almost like a reset for the wrestling business as a whole, as and for individuals. Especially when you think about we've had COVID. We've also had the issues with the speaking out campaign. Not the issues, but the people who have now disappeared and gone. So there's spaces available within every business, every facet of the wrestling area. And now, New Year. Say it is July, the first shows. I think everyone's going to want to come back. They're going to want to look their best. They're going to want to act their best. They're going to want to demonstrate that they are now the next batch coming through. And you guys, without trying to blow smoke up your asses, by the sounds of things and from what you've demonstrated, you're putting yourselves right out there to begin with by doing this Fat to Fit journey and really kind of being accountable for what you're doing as well.
Yeah, I think it's again. I can only speak for myself. I don't know if Mad Dog's on the same train with me on this one, but it's not that I'm going into it thinking I want to go here, I want to go there, I want to go to the next echelon, and I want to take this person's spot. I'm not outwardly aggressive like that. All I worry about is what I can control, and what I can control is how good my performance is. And if my performance is up to the level that I'm comfortable with, I'm happy. It's almost like Mad Dog says when he talked about, if you go into the gym and you only have half an hour, but you come out, you've got a good pump on, you feel like you've achieved something. If I have a good match, I feel like I've achieved something. I'm not looking to be like, I want to go to this promotion, that promotion, I want to get paid more, I want to do this, I want to do that. Because to a certain degree, I feel like at this level of my life and this stage of my life, I'm not as in control of that. I can make opportunities, but I'm not outwardly kind of trying to screw anyone over to get to them. If they come, they'll come because I proved to myself that my performances were good and that I am a trusted hand. That's really all I'm concerned with at the moment. So yeah, I mean, as I said, I'm excited, but I'm excited just to. The only person. This is the unique and beautiful thing about wrestling. Really, is that it's a pseudo sport because you're not competing with anyone but yourself. And I have always said that the only person I want to beat is the last me. I want to beat past me. I want to be better than I was before. I want to have a better match, or I want to have a longer match, or I want to hit more moves. I want to do this. I want to do that. And it's me. I'm not competing with anyone else on the card. I'm competing with the last version of myself.
Usually,
so yeah, and I'm
how
excited
many
to start
ladders
doing
he
that.
can land on, and how many keyboards he can hit me in the head with. That's usually what he's trying to beat. But I echo what Karl said. But I tell you what, though, Dan, it's like one of the driving force I think in the super fat and super fit, and one of the things about trying to be the best you can be, and it's kind of like what Karl said earlier on about the adulation thing. There is a little bit. We're all in wrestling, right? I don't think you can be a good wrestler and not be slightly narcissistic, slightly arrogant, and slightly vain. There's a certain nugget of attention seeking that you need to have to stand there in your pants in front of 500 people and say, oh, look at me. Like, there's just a certain need for attention, right? So if you're then doing a fat to fit journey or getting, some sort of physical transformation journey, of course, there's a nugget there where we're like, I want to be recognized for having hit the gym hard and for having lost a bit of weight and put some muscle on. And you guys look great. And you've been back in the ring and you've done some great matches. Come and do a show for us down in this place. Or, a phone call saying, oh, we saw your photographs or we've seen your podcast and we'd love to have you on our show. Are we hoping that happens? Yes. But are we going out of our way to force it? No. And that's what Karl's saying. We're not out there to try and push anyone out of their slots. We're not trying to do this and go, well, look at that guy, he's a slob, and look what we've done. We're not. That's not. Yeah. That's not. If it's a side effect, great. Yeah. If not, but we're still going to work hard and we're still going to put the best matches on for the places that have booked us.
Yeah. So we've never been snipey like that. We've never, put people down with that kind of intention of making the other guy look bad so that I can have his spot. We've never been like that. And that may have hindered us because there are guys out there that play the game. They are a little bit more political and they will play the game and they'll get the spots that we don't. But I have to be comfortable with myself and what I do. And again, the only person I really want to, ultimately, Mad Dog's right. There is an element of I enjoy the adulation in that moment. But ultimately, when those fans are gone and when my colleagues from backstage aren't there and I'm sat here on my own, I have to be comfortable with what I did and for myself. That is always at the back of my mind, that I just have to be pleased with myself and proud of myself. And yeah, it's easier to recognize and be proud of yourself when someone else is also saying it. I think Mad Dog's spot on about that. But again, that fades. The bit that lasts is the bit that's personal. And
glory lives forever. Oh.
You've got to be able to look yourself in the mirror, haven't you, the next day and go, I did what was right.
Or two mirrors in my case, because I'm quite fat.
You're a big chap.
Even owning your mistakes, I'm sort of I know that there are decisions that I've made that are wrong, completely wrong. But I think the fact that I acknowledge that and I know that and I own it, it makes me more comfortable with it in a way.
You must get that because you're a performer too, Dan. Like, I know, like, we might, as wrestlers, look down upon, and I think people do in the trade look down upon the MC or the ref, right? I personally make an effort not to. I've always been trained and taught that it takes a village. Everyone is part of the show, and in fact, everyone is just as equally important as everyone else, right? And I hate that old school mentality of, well, you're just a fucking zebra, or you're just the MC, get out the fucking way, I'm the worker. I hate that attitude. It just stinks. Because the thing is, you can make or break me on a Saturday night. If you're my mate and you're like, here comes Mad Dog, the wildest man from the south, and you big me up and the crowd goes nuts, or you just like, yeah, here's some bloke from Southampton, he's a bit of a cunt. Like, the MC's really, and that's, again, okay, I know I've turned it around to make it adulations and important on me, but then for you, you're interacting with the crowd as the MC, like from start to finish. You're the bookends, you're the book cover, right? And a lot of the times, you're what the people, paying customers see. People say don't judge the book by its cover, but you do. And when people walk in, you're the first thing they see and the last thing they see. So you must have a similar sort of thing where you want to go out there and have a, is it the same for MCs?
No, it is 100%. Obviously, it's less physical, without stating the obvious, from your point of view. But whether I'm announcing or refereeing or even commentating, or on the occasional time when I manage as well, for me, I think we're in a very much a visual sport. You've got to be, you're from an MC's point of view, you're absolutely right. First person they traditionally see, absolutely probably the last person they see before they go out the door and go by the merchandise stand. I like to think that you set the precedent, you set the standard, so to speak, of what they're looking for. So if an MC walks out and he's in jeans and a jumper, for me, I'm like, what am I going to expect to see here from the rest of the wrestlers? If the MC comes out and he stumbles all over his words or doesn't got a clue what's coming up, because you're there as an MC to almost set the tone. So this match is a big match. Why is this a big match? If you're showing passion to it, if you're excited for this match yourself by your voice, that the crowd know to get excited. If it's a newish crowd and you've got, Karl Atlas coming down the ring next to take on Mad Dog, it's a town which neither of you worked in before. How do the audience know who to cheer and who to boo for? They get that, at least the beginning bit, from the MC by the way he announces them, by the way he interacts with them.
Your energy.
The energy. It's all about that.
There's an American business term which does really apply here, which is how you do one thing is how you do everything. This is a customer service thing that you get if you work in customer service. But I think this is true. If you're any small detail of your service, that's how you do everything. Because if that's the only thing, that's the only contact point that the customer has, then they'll assume that everything behind that contact point is the same as that. So if
it's little things from being an MC, and I don't want to get too much about myself, but for myself, I always make sure what I'm wearing is the best I've got. I coordinate. My stuff is coordinated. My gimmick is I've got these coordinating socks. But if you look at my stuff when I turn up, everything will coordinate. It will be smart. It will be ironed. God, please iron the shirts. All that kind of stuff. Equally, I pride myself in the fact I don't use cards. I don't use a clipboard. I stand there. I memorize. Now, obviously, if you've got a lot to say, you might need to pull a script out and just have it. If you're doing like some sponsor stuff, that's fair enough. But when you are stood there, you're making eye contact with someone at the back, expressing your voice, and you look like, hopefully, like a professional person. Even if it is only for 25 people, we've all been there. I don't know if you're working in front of 10 people.
Seven is
500.
Form of peer.
But Mad Dog and I have had that conversation before. It doesn't matter because what the goal should be is that you turn those 7 into 70, and the only way you're going to turn those 7 into 70 is by putting your best foot forward. We kind of need to dive into the crux of this pod as much as we could chew the fat with you. There's one thing though that I think is worth saying that is at the back of my mind. The thing about MCs that I don't think anyone really appreciates is that good MCs, walk a knife edge because their job is to get everyone else over and at the same time not put too much of themselves over. Whereas the wrestlers have only really got to worry about getting themselves over and maybe their opponents if they're good workers. They should be thinking about the whole match rather than just themselves in it. But essentially, we are responsible for just ourselves and the other guys that go across the ring from us. The MC is responsible for getting everyone on that card over and not outshining anyone and not becoming a distraction, by attracting too much attention. Because I think there are some MCs that go into business for themselves, and they try to take over and become a character or something. Do you know what I mean? And that's not your role. And I think unless it's been a creative decision from up higher, I think the MC walks that tightrope of I need to get everyone else over, and it doesn't matter if I'm remembered or not. But the show needs to be remembered, and I think that's quite selfless. I just think it's quite a selfless thing.
Yeah, really, really good point. I don't think a lot of MCs, and I include myself from time to time, because it's very hard to not sometimes become a character. You're immersed in a character situation. You're immersed in a soap opera, as I like to call it, and you are almost that straight man or woman for that opera, that soap opera, and you've got to stand in the middle of it. But it's sometimes but equally, you need to react to it as well. So you are, if a guy's in the ring giving you grief, you're not going to be a pally with him in the next segment, so to speak. You've got to make sure it kind of all meshes in there, because the audience are very smart and very clever. But equally, Karl's 100% right, and I've seen MCs, do it themselves, and you think why? And they are more of a character. In some cases, they're more over than the guy in the first wrestling match, for sake of argument. And that's not what they've got to be. You're there to promote a brand. The brand is that company you're working for. You're part of that brand, granted, and how you look is part of that brand. But you need to make sure that you're not overshadowing the guy in the first match or the guy in the main event, or anywhere in between.
Like I said, it's a very thin line, and being known for having quirky socks, I don't think overshadows anyone, but it makes you stand out just enough that you are Dan Barnsdall, you're the MC, and people remember you. But it not distract. A pair of flash socks is not going to distract from the fact that Mad Dog just came out and completely ripped some poor guy's head off. And you're still, you get the socks bit done, and then you're back to. Right, Mad Dog's coming out now, and
in all honesty, with regards to the socks bit, that only started because the audience were demanding it. I didn't want to do it. I was like, that was like, no, this, because my mindset is get out there, get the first match on, get the crowd up, first match underway. Let's crack on with this. Because in all honesty, gents, once I get there, I just want to get it done, get paid, go home.
yeah, absolutely.
Just like the rest of us.
Well, I enjoy the fact I get one of the best seats in the house to watch it while it's going on. But I just want to get my bit done and get home.
You've had some corking seats for some of the MSC jobs you've done. You've had some corking seats. Yeah.
I have been incredibly lucky. I have had, I saw the best seat in the house for Osprey and Pac. I've done all that kind of stuff. I've been chased around the ring by Minoru Suzuki. I've had all that kind of stuff. But in all honesty, it's the spectacle, the whole thing. That's what you get behind. That's what you want to watch. I don't want people chanting my name. I don't want people saying, "Oh, look at MC." I always want them saying, "That guy, that company is awesome. I want to go watch that company again." Because if that company gets back in, hopefully I get booked again.
Yeah. So speaking of spectacles.
I was going to say
I'm going to do the Atlas routine here. Speaking of spectacles, this weekend, we got WrestleMania Backlash. Fuck knows why they called it WrestleMania Backlash. Why they couldn't just call it Backlash, I don't know. We've been talking about it off and on for a couple of weeks. We made a couple of predictions about the sort of matches we thought we were going to see, and we were hoping they weren't going to do a couple of weeks ago, Karl. And I messaged you this afternoon and said, it looks like the card, we've got at least 5 matches have now been declared. That are definite.
Maybe Raw. I didn't see Raw, so maybe Dan can fill in the blanks on that one.
I have seen Raw, and yeah, it's that we are now up to 6 official matches,
and I think there'll probably be 7 on the night. I would imagine.
I think there's at least one more to be potentially dropped in. We should actually say, as we just mentioned, Raw. Send all our best thoughts out to Humberto Carrillo, who, for those who haven't seen Raw, nasty looking over the top rope to the outside. I think a sunset powerbomb, where unfortunately Sheamus landed on his leg. So no one's fault, just one of those accidents. But you could see when on Raw they end a match like that and the referee goes, "No, it's over." You know that he was badly hurt.
I did read about that actually. What I read, and again, Dan, you might be able to tell me whether this is right or wrong, is that he called the ref over and said, "I cannot move my legs." Straight away, that's a throw up
he
the
called
X
the timekeeper over, so it was visible on cam. He went down. He kind of basically, Sheamus, for those who haven't seen it, Sheamus came over in a powerbomb sunset position, as you would imagine. But whereas Humberto's legs would normally split, so you could sit down between them, he came down literally pretty much on his knee, and you could see it looked like he was holding almost like he's around his coccyx areas in pain. Whether he's damaged his quad muscle or whatever, he's done something. The fact he actually gesticulated to the timekeeper, he was out. That speaks volumes in itself. So
yeah, nearest official he could see, probably. Like, I just need an official and to tell Sheamus not to pick me up, because if he does, I'm gonna cry.
and kudos to the referee himself, because he got straight out there. Again, we talk about announcers, but referees don't get enough credit in the time. He didn't even try to say getting back in the ring because Sheamus could do a quick pinfall. It was like, no, call the match, it's done. The match is stopped.
Sheamus has got a match this weekend, hasn't he? Which
no,
it's a bit of is that the one that's been called
as
off
things
now?
stand, there is. I believe there was probably a match going to be announced. Probably Carrillo. I imagine we'll finally get that title shot, because that storyline has been ongoing with him doing these open challenges, and Humberto being really trying to chase to get that kind of US title match. I would assume that would have been a match which would probably been on there. There's definitely space in the card for another match. My gut thing is you might see the women's tag titles go on instead, though. That we've also got SmackDown coming up this Friday, where Natalya and Tamina get a title shot against Nia and Shayna. As things stand, that is happening on Friday. They could move that to Sunday. It doesn't make a major difference, or they could just do a rematch on Sunday. It's a storyline build they've got.
We've got lots of rematches, really.
It is fairly heavy if you look at the card. We'll run for the card in a minute on the rematch side. Before we get there, though, gents, obviously, first of all, Karl, are we still recording?
Yeah, we're on it. We're on it.
I'm not. Like, listen, the Mad Dog is off the button. I'm like, look, hands up here. Look, I'm just in charge of the workouts now, boys.
He had one chance and one chance only, and from that point forward, we were like, no, it's over to me. So yes, we are recording.
Breaking that fourth wall down a little bit, before you joined us, Karl, Mad Dog was boasting to me that he works in IT.
I know. That makes it worse. And that wasn't really a boast. It was more crying about my my woeful day job.
But what I was going to say is, on the show that did air, we did our predictions for WrestleMania. Now, we're not going to go through the predictions, but I have got the results, so we can let the listeners know who got the most points at WrestleMania.
Come on, it's the Mad Dog, isn't it? Come on, the Mad Dog has got to have won.
Now, we previewed all of WrestleMania both nights, plus the SmackDown before WrestleMania, because there was 2 matches on that. I can confirm, in third position, or last, basically, with 7 points, was Mad Dog.
What?
See, I don't even need to know the other results now. It doesn't matter which one came first. I beat Mad Dog, and that's all that matters to me.
And you beat him by a reasonable amount as well, because in second place with 10 points is Karl.
Yeah.
And I came first with 11 points. But only one point in it, Karl, though, so well done, sir.
But to be fair, I mean, again, this was like, we said in the run-up of the two of you, Mad Dog had made a vested effort to try and take on some of the products and watch some of it and get, so that he goes up to scratch. You are the fountain of knowledge, and I had not seen anything. So yeah, I'm quite proud of myself for getting that many.
I stand by it. Some of the matches I called would have been better results.
Probably yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think. I mean, we don't need to go review Mania. It's been and gone over the month now. But in all honesty, what I was curious about when we sat down for Mania, both of you kind of said you weren't that excited by it. You were going to watch it, but you weren't kind of as excited as you normally would. This may be an unfair question. WrestleMania Backlash is this Sunday. Is your excitement levels higher, the same, or lower than they were for Mania?
See, for me, it's the same. Now, I reckon Karl's going to be like, oh, I'm not quite sure. But when he watches it, he'll be fine. But it goes back to what I said way back when we had the prediction session, right? What I love about what's going on now in the product and at the pay-per-views is that the new school are in charge, and it's all... Do you know what I mean? We did a tickle your pickle. We did a tickle your pickle fantasy booking to make up for the lost recording, right? Where I said to Karl, okay, you said that the card didn't tickle your pickle, so what would you change? And ultimately, you didn't change very much, Karl. Couple of the structures, couple of the matches, moving Daniel around a little bit. You had a couple, but the bones of the show, and you even said it yourself, that what you appreciated was there was no nostalgia, there was no Triple H, there was no HBK, there was no Undertaker. Okay, you had that racist prick, I mean Hulk Hogan, right? But no one gave a fuck about Hulk Hogan, and fucking fair play to Titus for standing next to that old cunt.
Jesus.
Oh no, come on. You gotta call this shit out. The guy's a fucking racist. You gotta call that shit out.
And there goes your PG rating.
It went a long time ago.
Oh, yeah,
it went a long time ago.
But there's the point, though, isn't it? There is the point. All the matches that we've got so far are all going to be new talent. It's all going to be modern talent.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is fair. Let's go through the card. Let's get some predictions from you guys. See who thinks going to win. See what, again, your level of interest is for it. We're going to start off with the match, which was only announced literally on Raw, so you may not be aware of it. But you're finally going to get the match, which technically this is a rematch from Mania up to a point. Damian Priest goes one-on-one with The Miz, but this time it's a lumberjack match.
Yeah. I mean...
Okay, Priest is over, right? Priest is going to kick his head in. It's a lumberjack match to keep Miz in, right? Because Miz is doing the weasel heel. Yeah, like I haven't watched it, but that's got to be the gimmick.
That is part of it. So
Weasel heel. He hasn't got drip. What the fuck is Johnny's name?
Johnny Morrison. Johnny Drip.
What a load of shit. Fucking anything that's more. Who calls themselves Drip? What a wet cunt!
I don't know. Hell? I don't know. I have to this much. It is kind of getting over. It's kind of funny, and this is clearly the start of the breakup of Miz and Morrison. You can see the cracks are beginning to appear, and I think this is Morrison's now almost face turn from it. I think this is going to be his kind of face persona. I can see it being quite niche, but I can see fans getting behind it.
See, this is where Mad Dog and I diverge, because I really enjoyed the Miz and Morrison shtick at WrestleMania, actually, and I kind of I've always had a soft spot for Morrison. And the drip thing, I'm with you, Dan. I think it's quite funny, actually. I can see the humor in it. I'm not overly excited about that match.
Damian Priest is going to kick his nut off. It's going to be awesome, man. That Priest has got some skills. Like, he is physical.
And he is technically the next heir, apparently. He's the guy they are clearly positioning, at least for a reasonable high-level push. You can just see it coming. If he's going over cleanly over the Miz and Morrison. Bear in mind, Miz is a former WWE champion.
Three-time champion. Yeah, he's won everything. He's won everything worth winning at multiple times, right?
And this is the thing. I'm a big Miz mark. I really like Miz. I've always said that he's, he when he matured, and in his latest iterations, I think he's just a really good hand in the ring, and what he does is phenomenal. But you're right. He's kind of done it all. He's almost a little bit played out, and it's like he's one of those. He's almost a bit like Randy Orton now. You could take him and slot him into any part of the card, and he would work because he's that good and he knows his place. So yeah, I think in terms of predictions, I'm with you. I think it's got to be Damian, because it just makes the most sense, and it would feed into Miz and Morrison going off and doing a split. But I'm not overly excited about it. Yeah, I just can't get myself worked up about that one.
So I'm saying Priest. Karl's saying Priest. Mad Dog, are you saying Priest as well? Is it a clean sweep?
Yeah, it's got to be. No other result makes sense. No
absolutely agree. Let's go on to a title match. The first title match, a load of other title matches, but this is the first one. It's the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. It's the Dirty Dogs, which is Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler, defending against the father-son team, Rey Mysterio and Dominic. Could we have the first ever father-son tag team champions?
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. And I've got a feeling that this will be like the opener. It will be the feel-good start of the show. It makes too much sense.
Odd that they didn't let them do it. Honestly, I do think it's weird they didn't let them do it at Mania, because you imagine Ray would probably come out in Batman with his son in Robin costume or something, right, for a pop, because he loves to come out in a comic book costume. And when are you going to do Batman and Robin if not with your kid at WrestleMania, right?
That's a really good call, actually. I must admit, I agree. It should have happened at Mania, but yeah, that would have been a great opportunity for them to do some kind of Marvel-inspired
Iron Man and Spider-Man or something like that. Something like that would have been absolutely cool, because he loves that shit, right? So it would have been pop for Ray. And also, I don't know why Roode and Ziggler didn't get a main spot. Like, it just seemed odd that it was on SmackDown, and maybe that's why they're doing it at Backlash.
That would make sense for me. I think it's pretty obvious. Without, and I say, doesn't mean it's going to be right, because sometimes when the writing's on the wall, WWE don't do it. But I'm thinking you swap the tag titles over to Ray and Dominic. In all honesty,
there can't be much money left in that. There can't be much money left in that chase, can there?
No, and there can't be much left in the tank for Ray, really. I think it's kind of, you've got to pull the trigger with this sooner rather than later, because and doing the tag with Dominic is the perfect spot for him. He can share the load. He's sort of, staying out of situations where he can get himself injured again. But yeah, there can't be that much left in the tank for Ray. So you've got to pull the trigger and get all you can out of this now. From a merchandise point of view, flog the masks, flog the T-shirts. It just makes too much sense not to do. And I'm all about it. I love it. I love Ray. I think Dominic's coming along really well from what I've seen.
I quite like Rude, and I actually quite like Rude and Ziggler. It harks a little bit of Beer Money. You know, it's the same sort of energy. It's the energy that Rude's used to. You know what I mean? Which you can't be surprised. It's what he does, right? It's his character, you know. And I loved Beer Money. I was a massive Beer Money mark, huge mark for that. It was right when I was a big fan. That was my heyday of fandom, right? So I really liked the Ziggler Rude dynamic. But again, how much play is there left in that for them?
Well, I think that's the thing for Rude. I think especially if you look at Rude's career, not just WWE, you go back into Impact and that kind of stuff. He seems to get very much pigeonholed as a tag team worker. Now that sounds almost derogatory. It's not, but it can be perceived as being derogatory because, you know, if sometimes you're pigeonholed that tag team division, you never really get that kind of main event push or main event spot. Now he did on Impact.
And at NXT, but then NXT, the glorious run was glorious.
But it was cut fairly short by being drawn up to the main roster, and it just seems that now he is just completely kind of spinning his wheels. I agree. There is some Beer Money feels to the kind of like the Dirty Dogs, almost like, well, they, you know, I've interviewed Rude, and he said, you know, Beer Money was put together because there was nothing for us to do. We were just told together we'll go together for one night, and it just kind of clicked. This feels similar to that. We need to put someone on the tag team division. Ziggler's good. We know Ziggler's a good hand, and he'll always have a job. Sticking with Rude. Rude's not doing anything. Two good workers, bolster that tag team division. Absolutely fine. I mean, not get back to you guys a little bit. You guys are tag team wrestling. I know you both wrestle individually, but when you kind of pushed for the beards and you went down this line of doing this tag team, did it ever concern you that it might pigeonhole you a little bit? Is that a concern that goes through mindset on the independent side of it, or is it not?
I can't even remember how it happened. I've got a feeling
it was definitely your idea.
No. I think we tagged once on accident. Like someone somewhere booked us together, and I was like, "Do you know what? I enjoyed that."
We had a match. Who was it? Did we tag for Megaslam? Was it for Megaslam at Ferrum against
might have been something like
Jakey and Ben?
It was some random. No, that was for Chris.
That for Chris?
That was an SWF show, and I think that might have been the beginnings of like, do you know what? There's some money in, well, not money in this, but there's some mileage in this. There's legs in this, and I've gone on record as saying that I had a tag team with someone before you, and I got really bored of being in a tag team, and so I had a sour taste in my mouth about being a tag team worker, and I'd never enjoyed tags until I started tagging with you again, and it's the enjoyment of it is what keeps me going. And the nice part about it is that no, we're not pigeonholed, because you said it, Dan. We can do the tag, but then we also have our own separate identities away from each other.
We were really careful. We were actually really careful about that. Actually, we were really careful when we were doing the beards. And we were talking about the beards, and we really wanted to, even way back when, even down to costume choices. And it sounds weird, but we've always chosen our costumes as a tag. We want to look like we're together. We don't want to pose in colours. We want similar colour palette, but we want to be able to walk away from each other and look individual on the night. Even when we're working together, we want to be able to peel to opposite corners and stand on our own in a picture. And then for me to stand behind Karl and for us to look like we're together. I think we don't copy each other's moves. We're very different. And yes, there's some truth in what Karl said about me not leaving my feet, but that's not always been the case. So I definitely have lent into it because of the tag team. But that also means that when I go off and do single stuff, and I come off the second or off the top, which and I know my stuff is never particularly, but I'll do a crossbody or I'll do a Mooney or something, right? But because I'm not known for it, it makes it that much more spectacular when it does happen.
I think those kind of, we're getting a different topic now, but I think those kind of spots for big men spots, they should be a rarity. It should be that kind of, oh my God, is he going to do it? It's like you, Karl. We all know you don't pull that moonsault out your bag on every single match you do. You use it for your big occasions.
I do try to shoehorn it in a fair bit, Dan. I can't lie.
My tongue was firmly planted in cheek through that. Thank God this is on YouTube.
I can't lie.
I think we
could go off topic with this though.
Yeah,
but I was told.
I think the concern is you get pigeonholed in that kind of tag team division. Not so much on the independent scene, and you guys, I think do it very well, and keeping yourself separate, but also keeping yourself as a team as well. I think you've done it. I think you probably almost got the blueprint for how it should work for other teams. In all honesty,
if you're a young up and coming wrestler, honestly, there's just some advice I got from Andy Boy Simmons and from Andy Quilden back in the day when I started. Right, get a tag partner for 2 reasons. One, you can learn from each other. You can work matches, and you can hide each other's weaknesses, and you can encourage each other's strengths. Me and Karl do that all the time. All the time, we encourage each other's strengths and we hide each other's weaknesses, right? And then the other thing is, well, you've got a traveling buddy, because on the road can be lonely, and you're cheap. You're cheap. You're a car. If you can find an MC mate that lives in the same town, all right, Dan, that can jump in the back, you've got you're half a car already. Yeah. And promoters love that. They love half a car, and if you can go and pick some up on the way, even better. And when you arrive, if you look the business and you can really work on your own, every now and then they'll be like, "Sorry, lads, we've got to break your tag team up. What I need, Karl, I need you to work the finish, because I know you've got a Mooney in it, and I know you've got a Swanton. And Mad Dog, can you do the curtain, and can you squash this little matey for us?" That happens. Even to us as an established tag team, we'll show up and they're like, "Yeah, really sorry, lads, you're not working." This used to happen to us all the time up at UBW. "Yeah, sorry, lads, you're not working tag tonight. Karl, I want you in the main event. I want at least 2 moonsaults and a swanton. And Mad Dog, can you give me a Brock Lesnar style squash on that little lad?" And you're like, "Yeah, whatever you want, mate."
and equally, it means as well that, say for sake of argument, as you said, Karl's getting booked somewhere. It opens the door potentially for him to bring. I know someone. When he's there, we need someone to do this. Well, I know someone. It's that kind of opportunity there. It's more opportunity for both of you, hopefully.
So back to
Backlash. Tag team title match. Is everyone going for Ray and Dominic, or is anyone going to stick their head on the line?
Yes.
Come on.
Ray and Dominic.
It's got to be, hasn't it? Like even the E won't do anything as daft as. Why? Yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe we'll all be wrong.
Right. Let's stick with SmackDown and the title situation. It's the one match I'm actually most excited about out of the whole card. It's the SmackDown Women's Championship. It's Bianca in her first defense against Bayley.
See, I called this.
This is the one you called. You said this was going to happen. This is probably the one of the 2 matches, I'm gonna let you guys talk, because I'm the least excited. Which I know is a surprise, because I spaffed my load over the WrestleMania night one, but I'm more excited about the Raw one. So I'll let you guys.
I think this is a very pivotal match, and not just for Bianca, but for also on the Raw side, for Rhea as well. It's the first pay-per-view title defense of their new champions. They're both brand new champions with their first title reign. And traditionally, WWE doesn't traditionally book their first title reign particularly strong. Look back, Daniel Bryan's when he got stuck in that feud with Kane for a very long time, which just sucked the air out of it. This is almost like, for me, especially for Bianca and for Rhea, actually, they've got to have a really strong, outstanding match and make themselves look dominating in this match. And I think Bianca's got a better chance than Rhea has.
Bayley can do that as well. Bayley didn't get a Mania. She ran around filling in on commentary and stuff, which I thought was a surprise, but they only had so many spots, right? And they'd already shoehorned a bunch of female tag matches into that mess of a tornado match. Yeah, I think Bayley can give her a cracking match.
I
said this, didn't I, before? I said, it's going to end up being Bayley. It makes the most sense. She's a strong, trustworthy hand. She'll get a good match at Bianca. It's a great first title defense because Bayley don't need it. So that's the only bit of this that I think is, if we're going to look at it as a negative, is that the result is in the bag. We know that Bayley ain't winning it. Again, WWE does like to throw us a curveball, but I think, come on, Bianca's super over. She had a hot match at WrestleMania. They're not going to strip her of the belt just yet. I think that if you have to give it a negative, it's the fact that it's phoned in. But I do think it'll be a strong match, and I think it'll be a great, like you say, a great test of Bianca to prove herself that she deserves to be in that spot against someone who has been in that spot, Bayley. It'll
be a different match. It'll be a different match to the Sasha Banks match because Bayley and Banks have got different styles.
Yeah, I think that match will tell a better story. I think if you're looking for a fireworks display of impressive spots, I think the triple threat women's match will be the one that you want.
And for the longer running storyline, when we're talking about storylines for the summer, then, and I know we're jumping ahead here, but when we look at compare it to the Raw tag title, I can't see it not being dropped to Flair, because there is definitely money in Asuka and Rhea chasing all summer long. Like, that's got to be that's the money for the summer. Like, you have Asuka and Ripley tearing each other's bright hair out, trying to reach Flair at SummerSlam. That's the goal, isn't it? Sure, maybe I'm wrong, but
yeah, I think you're right. And also,
I agree.
You've got to look at it from another point of view as well. If you look at WWE main roster as a whole, there are only one face champion currently. That's Bianca. Rhea is, I don't know what Rhea is currently doing, whether she's face or heel, or even tweening. She's very, very much, I feel, lost in that kind of women's division shuffle. That's my concern. We'll get on to that in a second. But I think Bianca, first she needs the win. Bayley will want this to be her WrestleMania match, because Bayley, quite rightly, probably felt a bit snubbed that she didn't get to actually work on Mania. Bayley is equally can take the loss. She's got the longest reigning SmackDown Women's Champion of all time gimmick going, so they can always come back to her. Bianca needs a couple of strong wins. She had one off Sasha. She had two off Sasha because she beat Sasha in the rematch on SmackDown. Now she needs a strong win over Bayley. But what she needs is Bayley to look strong as well, which I think they both can do. And this is a fresh match. It's not a match we've seen before. It's not happened on NXT. No. These two are a fresh match. So I'd be happy if this went into a little bit of a feud, which I think you can do. So I'm going Bianca to retain.
We've kind of done predictions on both the women's matches in one go here, and I know maybe Mad Dog will want to expand a little bit on the triple threat, but in terms of speeding things up a little bit as we're getting close to our time limit, I'm going to go for, as I said, Bianca for the singles match, and I'm going to agree that there is money in the chase and that Charlotte will win the triple threat. So that's my take on that. And I've said what I feel about the triple threat. I think it's going to be a fireworks display of amazing spots and segments. I don't think it's going to tell as good a story. I think the story is what happens after that. I think Mad Dog's spot on. I think it's the money is in the two girls scrapping to get to Charlotte first. I do think it'll come full circle. I think it'll be Rhea getting the shot one-on-one against Charlotte at some point, maybe SummerSlam, like you said.
Hopefully she's established herself by there. You know, at the moment, if I haven't watched a lot, but if you're right, Dan, if she's being lost in the shuffle, and she shouldn't be lost in the shuffle as the champ. Like, you're not in the shuffle. You're the champ. Champs by definition are not in the shuffle. So if you're feeling lost in it, then you need some time. And I think that's why often you see champs get given someone like Kane or someone like Bayley, because you can just plant them in and let them establish and let them run.
The problem with a triple threat match, and we'll probably get onto it in the main as well, but with this, the feud feels like it's between Asuka and Charlotte, and Rhea, who is your champion, is almost like they're in the background going, hey, I'm here, kind of thing. And that's not how it should be. That title, if anything, should be the focus, because that's what you want to do. You want to build the title up and make the title something important. And when the focus is, well, who's going to win, Charlotte or Asuka? That's what the general consensus of opinion seems to be. Then you think, hang on it, why is your champion, who you don't understand whether you should be cheering or booing for her, they put her in a 6-man tag this week and they put her on the heel side. But then they want...
she's just so under-established. She's so under-established as from a storyline, from feuds, from just her position. I think there's always a danger in effectively debuting someone on the main card and dropping the strap immediately on them. That's such a dangerous tactic.
Also, we got to remember as well that last year at Mania, I believe it was last year, she lost the NXT Championship to Charlotte. So and that storyline was never played out. Rhea never got her win back. So there could be an argument that Rhea retains here. And bear in mind, Rhea can retain by pinning Asuka. She hasn't got to pin Charlotte. So for my money, I'm saying Bianca for the singles, for the SmackDown one, and I'm saying Rhea to retain for the Raw one. Mad Dog, you need your predictions.
I am going to say that Vince and his creative team are a bunch of subversive fucks that like to mess around. So I'm going to go devil's advocate on this one. And I'm going to say Bayley picked up the title for some god unknown reason. But I am going to stick with my guns here that I think there's money in the chase and that Flair will pick up and that Asuka and Ripley will chase for the summer. I think there's money there. I think that's what
that makes the prediction game a little bit more interesting as well. So
yeah, it does indeed. Last two matches, and obviously these are probably going to be one of these will be the main event. Let's do the SmackDown one first of all. It is Cesaro getting his first ever Universal title shot on pay-per-view against Roman Reigns.
Question for Karl here, because we've actually talked this one through, maybe 10, 15 minutes. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I've got a question here, Karl. Is it too soon, bro? Because you said, well, you were worried that because you called this match and you said you were worried that this match would happen, and I said, what do you mean? Because isn't this why they're giving him the push? And you were like, yeah, but does he need more time in the shot
here? He's not winning the belt. I don't believe that for a single second. Because he has not been built to a point to be a Roman destroyer. Roman has beaten everyone clean, more or less, or convincingly enough. He pinned Edge and Daniel Bryan at the same time. He is being built up as superhuman. The Swiss Superman has not had the same level of build. I think it is rushed, but I think it's WWE testing the waters. I think it's WWE seeing if Cesaro can handle the main event style and putting him in with the top stars. I think it's a case of prove your mettle now, and we'll come back round to you again in the future once Roman's had his moment. All right?
Because you're right. It could be very much like a litmus test, couldn't it? How does the crowd react? Because the crowd reacted really strongly to him versus Seth. But that's very much a mid-card match. It was stunning. It was amazing, but it was in the right place on the card. So this could be a litmus test, like you said. How do you handle the main event style?
Yeah, exactly. Will you also be able to stay injury-free?
And do the crowd respond to it? Like, it's whether or not you're good at it. We've seen plenty of workers who can do that style, but the crowd don't give a fuck. Yeah. And if the crowd don't buy your T-shirt, they're not going to support that run, right? Sorry.
I think
what you've also got to bear in mind for this match as well is the fact that on this past week on SmackDown, we had the return of Jimmy Uso, who has not yet officially aligned himself with Roman or his brother. There was that in the end of SmackDown, he was helping them take out Cesaro, but that's only because Cesaro attacked his brother. So there is that kind of murky waters depth. The other wild card, which is worth mentioning, and again, nothing's been official with this yet, is Daniel Bryan, who was teaming with Cesaro up to 2 weeks ago when his contract ran out. Now, Bryan will be re-signing with someone, and the smart money is he'll stay with WWE in some form or fashion. You could get some. It's almost setting up the fact that Roman's got all this outside interference from himself, including Paul Heyman, that Cesaro needs someone in his corner. Is this the return of Daniel Bryan? Does it then lead back to Bryan and Reigns again, or something else? For me, I don't see Cesaro winning this. I think that Reigns is so hot as that heel champion, and whether you're going to put Jimmy with them or not, he's still got that faction around him. The flip side of the coin is they haven't got anyone equally as strong to really beat him yet. And I like Cesaro. I like what they're doing with him, but it feels too soon.
Yeah.
My concern more than anything else is can Reigns go with Cesaro? Like, I'm worried it'd be a really boring bollocks match because of Reigns' limited fucking moveset. That's not his ability. That's just what he's allowed to do.
I think you're undercutting Reigns there. That he's had cracking matches with like Kevin Owens, Rollins, and they all come from that indie background as well, and they all try to shoehorn in their little bits like from that era into their matches. I agree. I do think it's like you said, it's a litmus test. I think if he can prove that he can hang, they'll kind of keep him in a holding pan until it's time. It's just too soon. I don't think there's any money in the shock value. I didn't want to see this match yet. I wanted to see the Swiss Superman beat some guys like Strowman and some other guys, to kind of build up and put stock in him. And I think this we'll circle back to that. On
that note, we've seen Strowman step over to the other main event, the other title match, which is going to be Strowman versus Lashley versus Drew. And I think that's for the exact reason that you just said. Strowman is now completely undercut as a legitimate heavyweight scary title contender. that he can just be thrown into this match for someone for Lashley to beat, so that Drew's not beaten by him? That's really cynical. A really cynical way of looking at it, but I don't see any other way of why they put Strowman in that match other than to take the pin.
Well, let's talk about that. First of all, though, I'm saying Roman to retain. Gentlemen, let's go Mad Dog first. Roman or Cesaro?
I want Cesaro, but Roman's retaining.
There's another way to look at this as well, actually, because Roman has done these feuds with like Kevin Owens, with Jimmy, with Jey Uso as well. It's not. They could do a screwy, a fuck finish. Excuse my language. On this one, they could have due to outside interference, building to the next pay-per-view where you have some kind of gimmick match. So there could be a messy finish as well, or a non-finish.
They've been working head of the table a lot, though, right? That'd be it'd be a weird thing to do, I think, at this stage.
Okay, so you're both going Roman then?
Yeah, the only reason you would put it on Cesaro is to give Roman a break and let him do something else, because at the moment there's no one to take it off him. I don't see anyone on the roster being able to take it off him, unless you say, like you say, you're going to capitalize on the fact you could do a bit of a messy finish, have a bit of a shock upset, and then have Roman kind of do something else for a little while just to freshen it up a little bit for him. Let Cesaro have his kind of transitional run with it. Give it back to Roman just before he needs it to face someone big at SummerSlam.
To be clear, I'm not saying that when I said the fuck finish, I mean basically it's some kind of held up finish where Roman keeps the title, and the next, and like they did with Jimmy Uso, they did with Kevin Owens, you keep the feud going for a couple of pay-per-views. Ultimately, Roman still wins at the end of the day, but it keeps the storyline going. For me, and I say we're getting way ahead of ourselves, I wonder if they would want to keep that title on Roman for a year to Mania next year, have Drew win the Rumble again, and have Drew jump to SmackDown and be the one who actually defeats Roman. He's theoretically the only one who's that kind of level, who's got that kind of level.
And he's a face. Yeah. And he's the right size, he's the right shape, and it'd be a banging match.
And they teach that match, and that links back to that match from 2 years ago. Yeah. With a Mania. So that they could do that. Carl's exactly right in what he's saying. Unfortunately, on SmackDown, I'd probably even argue on Raw as well, there's not enough people there to kind of you could even think, maybe Roman Reigns could lose to Cesaro. No, the name on SmackDown, which is shocking that you think should be in that conversation, is Seth Rollins. But Seth Rollins feels lower down the card now than Cesaro does, and I don't perceive Seth Rollins as that kind of main event threat. I'm sorry to say, at the moment anyway. Obviously, WWE can reheat him and all that kind of stuff. There's always ways around it, but at the moment, for me, just keep that title on Roman. He's adding prestige to the title, if nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Right, we need to talk about this final match, and
yes.
Mad Dog's kind of hit my point exactly. I do think this has been made a triple threat so that the two men that actually matter don't look weak. I think Lashley's retaining. I think if you're going to make the decision that he's going over at Mania, then you've got to make the decision that he's having a run. If he's having a run, he's having a run, and let him run with it. So I think Strowman is in there to, make sure that there's someone that can take the fall. I think, McIntyre will probably end up looking like he's just killed Strowman with something, and then Lashley will capitalize on it and get the pin. So that McIntyre looks strong. He's still pissed off in defeat. I've still got fire in my belly. I still want my title back. Again, it's just nothing to get too excited about. It just feels like a holding pan match. It's like, okay, let's just recycle this. We'll throw Strowman in, freshen up a little bit. But I want Lashley to go off and face other people, and I want McIntyre to go off and face other people as well, because I'm almost, and I know I don't take on as much of the product as you guys, but I'm already bored of this feud.
You're right to be, because the way WWE's booked it, and especially the last couple of weeks, they've had them going one-on-one matches against each other. So you've seen all these matches play out, and you've seen them all get involved and get a mess around, and Claymore's been thrown, and the Hurt Lock been put on. And this week on Raw, the Go Home show, Strowman destroyed both McIntyre and Lashley with his power slam and left them laying. So everyone's looked strong. Everyone's going in on a level field. It's normal WWE 50-50, or in this case 33-33 booking. There is no kind of clear thing. And I think Carl's right. For me, this is a real holding.
Lucky Steiner's not there, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's just it's rinse and repeat with these guys, and I think you have the ability here, as Karl quite rightly said, have Drew hit a Claymore on Strowman.
All three.
Yeah, all three. For whatever reason, Lashley throws him out of the ring. Lashley gets the pinfall, and then you have Lashley move off to someone else, and you put Strowman and Drew into some kind of like number one contenders rival, and that hopefully helps build Braun back up again, because Braun is the one who's really has been, as you said, Mad Dog, kind of slipped back down the card and just doesn't feel like a monster at all now.
I don't know if that's accidental. I don't know if they've done that on purpose. I'm not sure what it is, but Strowman doesn't feel at the moment like a genuine threat to either of those titles.
The only thing they could do, and they have been doing clips of it a lot on Raw, is they could flip the title to Drew and have Lashley and Strowman move off into their own feud, because they kept harking back to that big feud they had about a year ago where they were throwing each other through walls and diving off the stage onto each other, and they could do that and have Drew go off with the title and face someone else. Again, apart from those guys, I don't know who else really is ready to go into that main event scene, so it really is a struggle, especially if you now got Orton and AJ in the tag team title division.
Well, that's surprising, because has that match actually been? Because the other match I saw rumored was RK Bro versus AJ. I mean, AJ and Oz, and what's his name?
Omos.
What was his name?
I like him. I think he's really funny. I like him. I think he's got a very dry sense of humour. And I think you might have the New Day in that from something on the Raw. Yeah, I think you could get another triple threat with the New Day in it as well.
Anyway, my money's on Lashley. My money's Lashley retaining.
You're going for Lashley retaining. Karl, who are you going for?
I'm saying Lashley as well, yeah.
Yeah. We are pretty much even on all our predictions.
Sounds like either we're all right or we're all wrong.
But this is the thing about when you asked me originally, am I excited about Backlash? Can I honestly say I'm super excited about it? No, because it's normally the most predictable show of the year, because WrestleMania sets it up and Backlash is just there to keep it warmed over until the next big show, which is kind of SummerSlam, I guess. So no, I'm not super hyped about it. Some of the matches look like they'll be absolute quality in terms of in-ring product again. I'm super excited to see what Cesaro can do against Roman. Both of the women's matches sound very exciting. I'm very excited about seeing Rey and Dominic win the tag belts. But I can't say that I'm super hyped about the show, because there's nothing in it that I think will shock me or surprise me.
The question here is, are you going to watch it Sunday night? And the answer is probably not. I'll probably watch it lunchtime on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, it's not one that I need to stay up.
Because there's matches I want to see, but I won't be bothered if someone... And I won't be upset if someone leaks a result to me Monday morning. I'll just be like, oh, okay. And then I'll go watch that match. Like, there's nothing that I'm particularly precious about, like, oh, I must see that live before it gets leaked on the dirt sheets.
I think over the years, Backlash used to be the start of new feuds, new kind of matches, and as the years have gone on, and even by using the title WrestleMania Backlash, you've automatically told your audience that this is basically going to be a rehash of Mania in different forms, and it is, and it makes things very hard from a fan's point of view. Goes, so when does almost like the WWE season start and stop? If that makes sense.
We said this. Feuds end at WrestleMania,
but
not this year.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Lads, I'm gassing. We've got to take it home, and we've gone slightly over our normal time, which is absolutely fine because we love having Dan on the pod. But we got to take it home. As always, we're going to sign off. I guess we're just saying our usual shtick about, find us on our social media: Facebook, Beards, ATLAS&MADDOG. Our individual ones. I've got one for Karl Atlas. He's got one for Mad Dog. We are putting this out on YouTube, so you need to like, comment, and subscribe on that. Certainly should give it a share as well, because we're really trying to push for that magic 100 subscriber number so we can smash our tag.
We're like 38 today, so we're getting there slowly but surely. But
we're
getting more views than people clicking on subscribe. So honestly, guys, if you've watched this, if you've reached this point on the video, it's not going to take much. Please click the subscribe, click the notifications. There is going to be a bit of a break for a couple of weeks now. This is our final episode of Season 3. This is episode 12. I'm going to be releasing footage, though, of our training. over the break. I'm going to be releasing footage where we might do some commentaries and some talking to each other and us on the road and in the gym, like Dan suggested. So we are going to keep footage coming out, but the podcast as it stands is going to go into its season break, where we break for a couple of weeks, probably only till June, but it will break till June. I think I've already got a guest, by the way, Karl, for episode 1, because we've got a bit of a collab there going on. You've got something being released for one of our friends first week of June, and I've been speaking to them, and they're like, we could do something that dovetails together. So I don't want to give too much away. I want to drop that maybe the week before, but we'll have a guest on that first episode. But yeah, thank you to everyone. But Dan, real quick before we sign off completely, Dan, where can people find you? What have you got going on?
Keep it simple. I've got loads of, thankfully, I've got loads of gigs coming up, bookings come up from UPW, LDN, WrestleForce, CSF, loads of bookings. Find me on their social medias. But if you want to check out my own social media, best way to find me is on Facebook at Daniel Barnsdall MC, at Daniel Barnsdall MC. Give me a follow on that, and you can get all my details from that. What I would say is, gents, what we should do is, if you are taking your break, unlike WrestleMania, you guys have a season, a start and a stop. We should probably post just on Facebook the results of the predictions.
Yeah, so I was going to say
we'll follow up on that, so we can maybe post it on your Facebook page. Just so people know kind of what you got.
We'll hit you up after Sunday. We'll find out what the results were, and maybe all three of us will kind of post the results. Just as a post on our social media, just so that we see. I mean, blatantly, it's either going to be me or you that wins. Mad Dog threw out a mad curveball. If that gamble comes off, Mad Dog, I will eat my own beard, mate.
I will hold you to that. I will fucking hold you to that.
If Bailey wins, Mad Dog's pretty much winning it all.
God Almighty! If you imagine, we'll never hear the end of it.
Have we got a big main event next quarter? What's next quarter's main event?
June,
Money
in the Bank and or SummerSlam.
So can I call an audible, Karl? Can we invite Dan back for SummerSlam?
Oh, I'd love to.
Dan, would you join us in the barbershop for SummerSlam?
No.
Oh, cold! Look at that! Oh.
Yeah, gents, you know, anything you need, I'm always happy to help you guys out. It's a honestly, great podcast to listen to. It's great to be on video. I haven't been on YouTube in ages, so my ugly mug hopefully will bring you a few more likes, or hopefully not break. Yeah. And Karl,
a rose between two thorns, as they say.
Karl, we should probably just check. You still recording?
I'm still recording. Well, I'm going to stop literally in like maybe 3, 2, 1. We'll let Mad Dog do the old sign off. Oh.